Hello everybody, welcome to episode 1 of Driving with Nick. Today's topic is what is insurance? I thought this was the easiest way to kind of get going, is to kind of go through what insurance was and kind of where it started. And so without any further ado, insurance is basically a method for transferring risk. In exchange for a premium that we would pay to the insurance company agrees to take some of that risk. The first insurance company, believe it or not, was started by Benjamin Franklin in 1752. I'm going to check my notes. And it was called the Philadelphia Contributorship. And it was only for homeowners insurance. And it was only for fire. So what happened was, at that time, in the 1700s, a lot of things were made with wood, right? And so fire was the biggest fear. So they insured their homes for fire. In my research, when I kind of dove into it a little deeper, the policies were actually for 7 years. And I haven't figured out or found why it was 7 years, but now obviously most of our homeowners policies are 1 year. So that's kind of a little dive into what that is. We use insurance as we said, as transferring risk, but we also use that in conjunction with looking at our risk, right? So as my job, as we would talk about insurance, is to identify a risk, right? And then try to figure out what we want to do with that risk. Do we want to avoid it? Do we want to try to control it? Do we want to live with it, right? Meaning okay, this is a risk that I'm going to take, or do we want to transfer some of that risk? And that's, where insurance comes in, right? And how that works, right, is as a customer is insurance, when we buy insurance, the insurance company takes us and puts us in, looks at us as a whole, and then based on that can try to predict losses, and then we all pay into a pot, and that pot is used to pay any losses. So there are two types as we would talk about insurance, right? And if you would think about it, there's property and casualty, which when we say property and casualty, that is like normal in homeowners insurance, auto insurance, that falls into that property and casualty box. And then there is life and health, right? As an insurance agent, I am licensed in life and health and property and casualty. For today, we'll more talk about the property and casualty side. So, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and those, and some basic kind of topics, or we'll say some verbiage that would go along with those, right? So as we talk about our first thing, we'll talk about homeowners insurance, right? And when we talk about that, there's 3 basic types. And what I mean by that is we have a renter's insurance policy, which covers, if you are a renter, covers your stuff, right? Anything, let's say we can pick up and move, that would be covered under a renter's policy. So a computer, tables, chairs, socks, clothes, things like that.
Is that if it gets stolen or broken or lost?
Yeah. So that could be is the type of loss, and we call that a peril. So that is the cause of the loss. So theft, vandalism. Most insurance policies have different covered perils, and so what that means is usually they're mostly all risk. So they are covered for everything with the exception of things that are excluded. So think like flood and things like that. So yes, when we're covering your stuff under a renter's policy, it's covered for pretty much anything that might happen to your stuff, right? If it should get stolen, if it should be in a fire, if it should get vandalized, or anything like that. Obviously not covered for if it gets broken from wear and tear or things like that, right? So the second type is a condo policy, and a condo policy has a little bit of dwelling coverage, meaning that we're covering a little bit of the structure, because if you live in a condo, the master policy or your condo association covers the overall structure, so we just cover from the drywall in, so it's not the entire structure we're covering, just a little bit of that, and then your property in the same way. And then we'll call a normal homeowner's policy, which covers your home, right? And all the stuff that's associated with that, your property, any other structures that you might have, things like that, which we'll get into the actual policy in another episode. So we go into auto insurance, right? And auto insurance, right, is just that, covers your auto, just like us, we're driving around today, and my auto insurance covers me. And then the other, we'll call it personal lines policy that we would see most often would be an umbrella. So, and an umbrella is another layer of protection and liability over both your auto and your home, or if you had any other policies. And then obviously, based on your needs, we might have a boat policy or a motorcycle or anything like that. But for our sake of our conversation today, just those those kind of three basic things. And again, we'll talk coverages inside those at a later date. As we would move over to like a commercial side, obviously it could be as as intensive from a standpoint of number of policies and things we cover, but for conversation's sake today, we're going to talk about a business owner's policy, which think about just like a homeowner's policy would cover your stuff and your liability. That's what a business owner's policy does. I think of it as one package covering all of your property and all of your liability as it would be associated with that business. And then from there, if you have autos, we're going to have an automobile policy. If you have employees, we're going to have workers' compensation policy, and then on top of that, same thing, just like an umbrella. Obviously, based on your industry, we might have different things. If you have tools or you have different stuff, obviously that's going to change what we might do inside that. But for the most part, that's going to kind of be the basics of that section of policies. From there, we could talk the other side, which is life and health insurance, and we won't really dive into that today, but that is that other side of insurance, right? Which, just as it sounds, is going to be your life insurance. Your health insurance, we had disability insurance, long-term care insurance, things of that nature are that side. So if you hear somebody say, I sell mostly property and casualty insurance, or I'm licensed in property and casualty or life and health, that's kind of what it means. And there's a separate license for each. So to sell or to be to do one or the other, you need one and or both
licenses.
But one or both licenses. Thank you. So I hope that these couple minutes, I have a little bet with some people that I can't keep it under 5 minutes, so I don't know where I'm at, but hopefully I'm pretty close. And if you have any questions about this, or you have anything that you would want to reach out, or another topic that you want me to cover in the future, please reach out. Like I said, today we just think about what insurance is, right? In that it is a transfer of risk, right? So we are identifying a risk that you might have, whether it's the car we're driving in, right? If I hit somebody or I should do something that I don't want to have to pay for that, or God forbid something happens to my car, it gets stolen, it gets catches on fire, or anything like that. Like, I don't want to have the risk of having to pay for the whole thing. So I transfer some of that risk to the insurance company, right? And this is where an insurance agent comes in for us to be able to talk about those risks, whether it's from a personal side or a commercial side, and say, hey, what risk are you comfortable in having? What are you uncomfortable with? What can we transfer risk to? What can we cut out? What can we talk about and make it make sense, and then also make you better protected from anything that might happen. So hope everybody has a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to everybody. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.